What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for the Olympics. That's right. There's no PGA Tour. There's no Live Golf. There is no DP World Tour. All the tours, all the world comes together for the Olympics. So very, very cool. The men are going to play this week. The women are going to play next week. Now, as you can probably hear, as you can probably tell, I'm not at home. We are on the road. We're in Hawaii. Maybe you can see a little bit of the ocean behind me. The lighting is not great, but apologies for any sound or audio. I'll obviously do my best here because the show must go on, even though Mina and I are doing a little bit of a anniversary trip. But for now, the focus is on golf. Also, because of travel and because of a live TV hit that I have to do for CBS, the live chat this week will still happen. It'll just happen a little bit earlier. That'll be Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. So just a bit after noon. Maybe you take your lunch break, watch the show, or if you want to go over and drop your questions, concerns, your comments right now, feel free, go ahead. That room is up and ready to rock for you. But otherwise, let's jump into the Olympics. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. This is where I would normally show you the golf course. There would be a data regression model. There would be a lot of information, shot link, etc. It's Le Golf National. We've seen it for the Ryder Cup. We've seen it a handful of times, but I was not really confident enough in running out a model. There just wasn't enough information. There wasn't, it was just small fields and players that didn't have a lot of crossover. Also, what I like to do for Opens and US Opens is look at what normal setups for the RNA or normal setups for the USGA are. That's actually pretty telling in how a golf course is going to be set up. Well, we don't really have that for the IOC, right? We're only now in the third year of modern Olympics history. I did not really feel comfortable running out a model for this week. I'll continue to tinker with it over the course of the next couple of days, but I think we focus on the best players here, right? This is a 60-man tournament. There's only 60 players in the field. There is no cut. And because of the way that qualifying works, you have some really high-end golfers, like the first probably 5, 6, 7 players in the world. And then you get down into some guys that wouldn't really sniff the PGA Tour, wouldn't sniff some of these other tours because you can only get so many qualifying spots from each one of the countries. Now, that does not mean these guys aren't super live. I think it was a surprise to see Rory Sabatini and CT Pan capture medals in 2021, which would have been the 2020 Olympics, moved to 2021. I think that probably would have been a bit of a surprise. So we're gonna treat everybody with the due respect here. And you know, my website that you're going to see throughout RickRunGood.com does cover 6 tours. So this is a really good use case for it when you've got guys coming from Live Golf, the PGA Tour, the DP World Tour, the Asian Tour, Korn Ferry Tour. All those results, all those stats are coming in to the database, so we can work with that. But without further ado, let's jump into the pricing. There are 6 golfers over $10,000. There is not a 5K range this week. Goes down to 6K minimum. So no surprise to see the names at the top. It's Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, Ludwig Åberg, and Collin Morikawa. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work backwards here. Normally I start from the top and work my way down. How about starting from the bottom and working our way up? Because if you've been following along with anything that's gone on over the course of this channel over the last 6 months or so, the Collin Morikawa stat profile is just a thing of beauty. The Open Championship, he did not putt well. He did not have a good short game. It cost him about 1.1 strokes on and around the greens, and that's a few strokes off of what his baseline has been since the Masters. If you go to the Power Rankings tool, you'll see the last 36 rounds, which has generally been the most predictive the number of rounds to use here. So for the vast majority of this year, Scotty Scheffler has been in a tier of his own, a league of his own, and that is still the case. And then it's been, Xander and Rory kind of in that second spot, and then everybody else behind. Well, Scotty is still in a tier of his own. He's gaining 2.9 strokes per round over the last 36. Xander has carved out spot number 2 for himself, 2.6, but Collin Morikawa has caught Rory McIlroy. So Rory has been a 2 strokes gained per round golfer basically all year long. Collin just caught him. And then there is a gap from those guys. So there is statistically now what I would describe as a big four. And that starts with Colin Morikawa at 10,200. I'm not going to put a lot of weight or any weight on the fact that he was in that playoff in 2021. I do like that he has Olympic experience, but it was 3 years ago. It was in an entirely different country. I'm not going to put much emphasis on a lot of that stuff, but the way that Colin is trending is superb right now. And then continuing to work our way up here. We're seeing Ludwig Åberg at all of his firsts, right? His first Open Championship, his first majors. He's just now on the PGA Tour, getting back to golf courses that he has seen before in competition. I have said countless times, if you miss the cut at the Open Championship, I'm not going to beat you up for that. And that's exactly what he did. He still drives it incredibly well. If you look at the even like the fairways, the acreage of fairways, the acreage of rough around here, it is a big dispersion. I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to hit some of these fairways. The rough is anywhere from 3.5 to 4.5, maybe up to 5 inches long, and there is water out there on a lot of different holes. I think there's 10 different holes in which water comes into play. So this here, Ludwig, is probably the guy that I think goes a little forgotten, because right above him is Jon Rahm, who finally cashed through and got that first victory on Live Golf. He played well at the Open. You think, okay, trending well. His last 4 starts are T3, T10, T7, and that win that includes 3 Live Golf events and the Open. I think this is where you're going to see a lot of that ownership go. Colin is the cheapest in the 10K range, and he's the 3rd or 4th best player in the world. Jon Rahm, who you don't get to play a lot unless you're playing, Live fantasy games, is very cheap relative to other guys, might be one of the best players in the world, and is just coming off of a victory. Then the other 2 guys, so I'm jumping around here, Xander and Scotty, I think are going to be incredibly popular, and for good reason. Guaranteeing either of these guys 4 rounds is one of the most dangerous things that you can do. If you go to the Holy Grail, and we could go back a handful of years here, and I've not done this yet, and apologies for the slowness here. I'm on my laptop, and you just do no cut events. I bet you Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele are near the top of this list. They're 3rd and 4th. Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, and then Xander Schauffele. And because it's the best players in the world, because when you guarantee the best players in the world, 4 rounds, they're going to beat you up. If this was a 100-round event, it would almost finish. It'd probably finish Scotty Scheffler, Xander Schauffele, like every single time, right? You know what I mean? It would just never. There'd be so little variance, which is why 4 rounds is such a good number, because guys can get hot, they can play well, but anything more than that, you're probably going to see the stars win even more frequently than they do. And the only question is going to be, how will Scotty putt these greens? They are a combination of POA and bentgrass. And from what I understand, they're running quite pure. He's lost strokes putting in 2 of his last 3, which are both major championships. One was at Pinehurst, one was at Troon. Did not expect him to lose 3 strokes putting at Troon. I could absolutely see it at Pinehurst, but the rest of the year it's been spectacular. And then Xander, just for the purposes of being thorough here, I'll show you his stat profile, has clearly elevated himself to a new level. He is our reigning gold medalist. Again, I don't put too much emphasis into that, but he's also our reigning champion golfer of the year. He is also our reigning PGA champion. He is clearly becoming a closer. The well-rounded nature of his game, he is almost a no-cut specialist, as has been described at points in his career. So I'll be getting as much of these 2 guys to the top as possible, which leaves us with Rory, right? So the way that I envision this, and I think all these guys will be fairly popular, but I think you'll see a dip on Rory, you'll probably see a dip on Ludwig, which means if there is an opportunity to capture these guys, could you do it? Let's take a deeper dive at Rory McIlroy's profile here. A very disappointing missed cut at the Open Championship, in which he was pretty miserable on Thursday and just slightly below average on Friday to miss the cut. Loses on approach, loses with the putter, loses from tee to green for the first time since AT&T Pebble Beach, which was a just wonky weather week that was shortened to 3 rounds. This guy does not lose strokes from tee to green. If you remove the Open Championship, his recent run from the Zurich is 2 wins, 3 more top 5 finishes, and a bunch of really good stats. I forgive Rory very quickly. He does tend to bounce back. If you start scrolling through and look, I mean, you have to kind of go back pretty far. Some of his bad starts, you never see him in a slump, right? You never really see him put 2 or 3 bad rounds together. He is very knowledgeable about his golf swing, and I think it'll be interesting to see how he runs this thing out here. He was in a playoff in 2021. Remember, it was like a 7-man playoff or something. Or maybe it was a 6-man playoff for that bronze medal. Rory was in there, did not win it. That went to CT Pan, of course, who was actually at the time had the longest odds to win that playoff. So golf is very, very weird. But Rory McIlroy, I think, is going to end up being an interesting pivot. When we get to Wednesday, we'll know more about the ownership for these guys, or the projected ownership for these guys, and that'll probably make a lot of our decisions at the top. But jamming in as much as Scotty and Xander as we can get, pivoting a bit to Ludwig, and then taking, eating a little bit of that chalk for Colin Morikawa, who's going to be $2,300 less than Scotty Scheffler. He's going to be popular, but at least you get a little bit of salary cap relief on that side as well. The 9K range here, it's small, but it's got a couple of decent names. I imagine there will be a lot of love for Shane Lowry, who I think is, fully engaged in this year of golf. He's been having a great year since he won the Zurich Classic with Rory McIlroy. He had an opportunity in a putt to set the major championship scoring record at Valhalla, ended up finishing T6 there, had a top 20 at the US Open, had a T9 at the Travelers, and then at the Open Championship, honestly, probably should have won it. Right? Punts it away on Saturday and comes back and plays well again on Sunday. But to lose 4.5 strokes on Saturday, he knows he gave away the Claret Jug. He ends up finishing 6th. It was nice to see him bounce back. I also think he's highly engaged in these Olympics. He was one of the flag bearers for Ireland. I know that that's very narrative based, but it's been a long year having guys that are in good physical shape, I don't know why I laughed when I said that about Shane Lowry. I just mean like mentally recovered, ready to rock and roll, I think is all a very good thing. And Shane is going to be popular. If you wanted to get away from Shane, there are some decent options here. Joaquin Niemann, who finished T58 at the Open Championship, is putting together probably one of the better years that we have going on here, right? If you look at the power rankings over the last 36 rounds, he's gaining 1.5 strokes gained per round. He started off really hot on LIV, and then has cooled off a little bit, but we're still seeing some good results flow in. The guy that I'm probably most excited about is Sweden's Alex Noren. He had a little tiny bit of a hiccup with a miscut at the US Open, a miscut at the Rocket Mortgage, and other than that, his 2024 has been really good. So here's what we'll do. We're going to do everybody in this field. I don't know what this is going to return, so bear with me here. But we're going to do, I imagine we're going to see Alex Noren pretty high on this list. We're going to do everybody in this field since the start of 2024, right? So January 1st, 2024 to now. Sort by strokes gained total. Yeah, Alex Noren is okay. So there's like the big 3 or 4, right? That's Scotty, Xander, Rory, Rahm, Colin Morikawa. You can even throw Joaquin Niemann into the mix. Then you get the next tier, which is like Carlos Ortiz, Ludwig Oberg, and then you get the next tier, which is Alex Noren. So Alex Noren is basically the 10th best player in this field since the start of 2024. He's gaining 1.1 strokes gained per round. He's played as many, if not more, rounds than basically everybody else here. It is better, to put it into perspective, it's better than Christian Bezuidenhout, it's better than Matteo Monteseo, Tommy Fleetwood, Hideki, Corey Connors, Shane Lowry, etc. So this has been an extended run for Noren, and I think if they want, again, I have no clue how the IOC is planning on running things this week. I think they could get Les Golf National pretty difficult if they wanted to, which I always believe helps Alex Noren. If this does not get to 20 under par or something like that, you see the success of the Scottish T10, the success at the Open T13 to get out of that little bit of a mini slump. And where did he struggle? The US Open, fine. Rocket Mortgage, birdie fat, I don't care. So Alex Noren is probably the most exciting in this 9K range. And then, a little bit of a hat tip to Tom Kim. It was an ugly Open Championship, but I've forgiven everybody else for their demise at the Open. I'm certainly going to forgive Tom Kim. This is he ever since the PGA Championship, he's having such a better year. So why don't we do that as well while we're here? Just look at everybody in this field. We'll call it since the PGA Championship. So it's that mid-May date. So we'll go May 14th. Tom Kim is better than Tommy Fleetwood and Hideki Matsuyama, right behind Ludwig. He's basically the 12th best player in the world during that span. So you're not going to hear me get too negative on Tom Kim's miscut. I wish we have seen just any glimmer from Victor Hovland over the course of the past couple of weeks. You know, the PGA Championship really kickstarted what I thought could have been a late run, kind of what he did last year, get hot going into the playoffs, win, and then win the FedEx Cup, right? Just get hot at the right time. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that. I want to see just one glimmer of a stat profile coming back before I start investing again. I think this is an interesting spot for him, but it's tough to invest when he's lost strokes around the green in something like 12 out of 13. He's lost strokes on approach in 3 straight. This is just a bit of a tough profile to start backing right now. But I think he thrives a bit in these types of events, and I think there's a lot of Norway pride that he and I believe it's he's buddies with the other Norwegian. Where is he? Is it Christian? Stand by. Yeah, Chris Ventura. They're buddies, right? Both Oklahoma State guys. I think they might have been roommates. I think this is a good vibe for him. I just don't know if it ends up being a great week on the golf course for him. The 8K range. Let's start with a couple of guys that I think are incredibly high risk, but incredibly high reward. We'll start with the home game for Matthew Pavone, right? The Frenchman gets to play in the Olympics in his home country. Very, very rare for athletes to be able to do, especially golfers when there's only been so few editions of this. A totally bizarre year for Pavone. Started 2024 and was legitimately a top 5 player in the world. Then he disappeared and did not play well at all for a few months in the spring. And then he pops up out of nowhere at the US Open, finishes 5th, and starts to put together a lot better profiles here. I would not be surprised to see him finish dead last. I would not be surprised to see him on the podium at the end of this week. So you are taking on a lot of risk, but a lot of reward for Matthew Pavone because I think he's two-faced. I don't know what face we are going to get. That also applies for Hideki Matsuyama, whose I believe his floor is a lot higher. And you can see that because he's been consistently one of the best tee to green players in the world for the last couple of years. The putter, though it cooled off on the Scottish swing, he was miserable at the Scottish Open. He was miserable at Royal Troon. He's been really good outside of that. So maybe getting him in a different region on a different set of putting surfaces is going to work well for him because the rest of the metrics are still here. And during that time, he's popped up. I mean, since Riv, the win, a bunch more top 10 finishes, just the metrics are here. But again, if he finished 51st, would you be surprised? No. If he won, would you be surprised? No. So I think that those two guys are fairly high risk, high reward, but we are getting a few more options that I think are solid. Guys that you can bank a little bit more on, whose floor is higher. And I'll start with Corey Connors. Corey Connors is low-key having a great run here, and it's also a fact that he has started to plug one of the weakest parts of his game. So I go back to a turning point, which was the Canadian Open. He finished 6th there and gained 7 strokes putting. We knew that was not going to last because that is, I believe, by far the best putting performance of his career. And it didn't. However, he has gained strokes putting in 4 of his last 6 starts, which if you start scrolling back historically on Corey Connors, that's an incredibly rare feat. And with that, when he's already got a top 25 floor because of the way he hits it, but can never out-hit his putter, improving the putter is immediately increasing these results. I mean, he finished T20 at the Memorial, losing 4 strokes putting. Finished T9 at the US Open because he picks up 3.5 strokes putting. So loses 2 strokes putting at the Travelers, T27, gains 4 strokes at the Scottish Open, T10. So what you're seeing is his baseline, and probably in a field like this, if he loses 2 strokes putting, he probably finishes T19. in a field of 60 golfers of this strength. If he gains 3 strokes putting, now he's in podium contention. If he gains 5, which is a couple off of his career best, maybe he wins a gold medal. I don't think he wins a gold medal, but I think he is an absolute threat to be on the podium this week. And then I'll finish up this range with Jason Day, who is just starting to put together better profiles here. And this is, if you like small sample sizes, if you want to just give J Day a chance here, I think this is a decent time to do it. He has been an elite putter all year long, which is really great to see. Remember, there was a time where he had the back injuries. He couldn't put a lot of time into his putting or into his short game, and it really showed in his stats. But he has been a very, very good putter all year long. And his last 3 results, T44 at the Travelers, 23rd at the John Deere, and then T13 at the Open, they had got progressively better in terms of stat profiles. His Travelers Championship stat profile was not great. He finished T44 out of a field of 70. Starts to get a little bit better at the John Deere, gains everywhere but approach and finishes T23. And then he gains across the board and gains in a big way on approach at the Open. It's unrealistic to think he's just going to continue that level of improvement. But if he can continue those Open Championship metrics in which he has been trending towards in his last couple of starts, this is a really, really good spot for him. He's never going to be, it's never going to feel too big for him. It's never this is a really cool spot. He has a ton of international experience. I know that Olympics are a completely different thing, but a ton of international experience that I think goes a long way here. The 7K range, and I can finally talk about Carlos Ortiz, whose name has been on basically every list that I've shown thus far. So let's go to here. So this is the trends tool, last 36 rounds, players in the world. Carlos Ortiz is playing 1.5 strokes over his 100 round baseline, right? He's taking his 100 round baseline compared to what he's doing in the last 36. And Carlos Ortiz is beating himself in a huge way. Basically, he is beating himself in the same way that Xander Schauffele is doing it. Now, Xander's 100 round baseline much higher than Carlos Ortiz's, which is why you see his strokes gain trend number be much higher than Carlos Ortiz. But Ortiz's strokes gain trend is the 5th best in this field. So you take his 100 round baseline, you combine it with what he's doing over the last 36, and it ends up making him a 1.9 strokes gained per round golfer, which is 5th best in this field. And I do have all the full strokes gained breakdown from Liv, so you can see how he's doing it. And it is despite of his second shots. But when he hits it well, he gains 4 strokes on approach in Houston, wins there. Most weeks he loses about a stroke or 2 on approach, and remember that's over 3 rounds on Liv, and it's still good enough to put up, top 15 finishes. But look at the rest of his game. Even with those losses on approach, the tee to green play has not lost him anywhere since Liv Las Vegas. That does not even include the win that he had in Oman in February, which I don't get the strokes gained data for the Asian tour. And then loses putting in the UK last week, but rattled off 7 or so straight weeks in which he had gained strokes with the putter. There's just a lot of opportunity for Ortiz to match up the really good tee to green play with the really good putter, which I think he's only done, well, I guess I shouldn't say only. I mean, he's done it twice in his last 14 events. He's won twice since February. One was in Oman and one was Live Golf Houston. So you can debate the strength of those victories, but you can't debate the upside, right? You beat everybody that they put in front of you twice in his last 12 starts. A lot of guys in the world would take that. So Carlos Ortiz at 7,900 is kind of like a flashing green light. And then Abraham Answer here. I think his first year on Liv, in my opinion, it wasn't anything to write home about. The metrics really kind of fell off. The second year on Liv, which is this year, 2024, it started to look a lot like the Abraham Answer that we had on the PGA Tour. He won in Hong Kong, then rattled off 3 straight top 10s after that. Slowed down a little bit because the putter got away from him in recent weeks, but he did just gain across the board at Live Golf UK. Again, this is a little bit setup dependent for Abraham Answer. If this is a golf course that has thick penal rough with just kind of slightly harder than average fairways to hit, that would really help Abraham Answer. Victor Perez is the other Frenchman in the field. So I believe France has 2 golfers in the field. That should just be Matthew Pavone and Victor Perez. He did miss the cut at the Open Championship, but the start before that shows the upside. And this is what you get from Victor Perez. Throw him in with Pavone, throw him in with Hideki Matsuyama. It is a low floor, high ceiling. So just since the Canadian Open, he's got a 3rd at the Canadian Open, a 12th at the Memorial, and a T10 at the Scottish Open. Those are all either tough courses, big fields, tough fields, all that fun stuff. It's going to be a weaker field here and a smaller field with guaranteed rounds. Victor Perez has that upside to get into the mix of things. And then finally, you have Matteo Monacero here at $7,000. And again, if you've been watching me, you know I've been all over Matteo here. T31 at the Open Championship where he gained 4.5 strokes on approach. T15 at the Scottish where he gained 9. Has gained on approach all but 1 week dating back to the Sodal Open on the European Tour. Yes, I've got those strokes gained metrics as well when they are available. He won earlier this year in March. He's having a great year. If you look at the power rankings, last 36 rounds, everybody in this field, no matter where they have played, here is Monacero. He's 12th in this field, just above Hideki, just above Alex Noren. It is true. The competition that he has played has been weaker than Noren and Bezuidenhout, but that puts him into a little bit of a way that you can identify how good he has been. And the metrics are what you want. He's team no putt. He's a guy that, if he does this, if he putts to a 0 like he did at the Italian Open, then it's a T10 for him, right? Or maybe even better in this field because the Italian Open was a bigger field. But playing really good global golf again. Nice to see him back in the mix on a regular basis. There's a lot of really good options in the 6K range. I don't do hunches, but I just have a hunch on Steven Jaeger. No real reason for it. He hasn't played great golf. He's missed his last 2 cuts, the Open Championship and the Rocket Mortgage. He's lost strokes putting in 6 straight and in 9 out of 10. But he's not that guy. His 2-year baseline is better than so many of the guys in this field. I think that he is he won in Houston earlier this year. How could he have fallen off so much since then? And I think when you get a guy outside of the rat race, right, of the weekly PGA Tour, whatever, this could be a really good turning point for him. A lot of freedom to just go out there and freewheel this thing. Nobody expects much out of him. If this was right after Houston or a couple weeks after Houston, he'd be like $8,900 instead of $6,900. He's incredibly talented, especially compared to the peers that he's priced around. No reason to think he's going to play well this week. I just think it's a talent option and a guy who needs a change of scenery. He needs something to change right now, and he's going to get it this week. Matty Schmidt is also here, and they're both the Germans in this field. Matty Schmidt playing much better. T12 at the 3M Open. Remember, he went to that broomstick putter earlier this year and really improved his metrics. Then he went in that mini slump from the Zurich Classic to the Canadian Open, and now he's breaking out of it again. 7 strokes gained ball striking and another 2.5 putting at the 3M Open. One of the very few guys who did play the 3M Open. Do I care that he has to fly from Minnesota to Paris? Not particularly, especially for somebody who travels globally on a regular basis. Shubhankar Sharma, the rep from India, excellent putter, has gained, 18 or so strokes putting over his last 5. Complete global golfer here, right? Primarily resides on the DP World Tour, where you can see he's got a bunch of made cuts in a row. He peaked at the Italian Open with the T5 just a couple of starts ago. That was at the end of June. Comes over to the PGA Tour side of things, finishes 39th at the Scottish Open and then 19th at the Open. Hits it well on the second shot, putts it well. The driver is trouble and the short game is trouble. Look at this breakdown, his skill set breakdown. It is almost a flat line from putting to approach. That is a very high upside way of playing golf. But that's what Sharma is. And then Chris Ventura is here. So I mentioned it. Really good vibes for Ventura, being a Oklahoma State guy, Norway guy. He's going to have plenty of friends and it's going to be good vibes. Plays on the Korn Ferry Tour and is putting together a decent year. 13th at the Ascendant. That was just 2 weeks ago. 24th and 16th. If you're trying to rank tours, the Korn Ferry Tour might be the second best tour in the world. Might be right behind Liv. I don't know. But it is full fields with cuts and Ventura's got 4 top 25s in his last 5 starts. He has 6 top 25s in his last 8 starts. He has 8 top 25s in his last 10 starts. It's very good. Since May, let's just do this. Since April 24th, let's do this. Since April 24th, I bet he's one of the best players here. And definitely, I am cherry picking a little bit. But in this range, let's see. Chris Fent, 1.15 strokes gained per round in 30 rounds. So his last 30 rounds have been a 1.15. Very, very good. All of it coming on the Korn Ferry Tour. He would be the good option in this range. Okay, let's see what the model says. And we are going to just have to be pretty basic here because we need guys who, not everybody, depending on where they play, has stats everywhere. So what we are going to do is we're going to put a pretty heavy emphasis on weighted strokes gained total, right? Everybody has strokes gained. Everybody's got weighted strokes gained. So we're going to put 40 on weighted strokes gained. We are then also going to do, I don't even know where to go next. We could do a little bit of scoring stuff here. So let's do 20 on fantasy points, 20 on bogey avoidance, 20 on birdie or better percent. Again, I'm trying to stay fairly basic here. You could also do this. Let's get rid of, or I'll take down birdie or better and bogey avoidance and stick with the strokes gained total distribution here. How often does a golfer gain 2, 3, 4, 5? Let's go with 20 on 3 plus. Because you're getting 4 guaranteed rounds, I can go a little bit lower there. So no surprise, very similar names at the top, but I'll point out the ones that I think are a little bit interesting. But Scotty Scheffler's my number 1. Rory McIlroy. Ludwig is 3. That's probably a little bit of a surprise. Colin is 4, and all of those golfers have a score over 91.5. That's pretty big. Xander in a tier by himself at number 5. Then Hideki. Look at this. This is where it starts to get interesting. Jason Day, Tom Kim, Corey Connors, Alex Noren are my 7 through 10. Wyndham Clark is my 11. Now, he gets a good boost for his weighted strokes gained. He gets a good boost for his birdie or better. He gets a good boost for a lot of things, fantasy points, but he's been pretty risky as of late. Tommy Fleetwood, Sepp Straka, Benny On, Matt Fitzpatrick are my top 15, and then Victor Hovland is 16. Interesting. Rahm drops to 24th for me. Yeah, just has made a lot of bogeys, has not made a lot of fantasy points relative to the field. Gets a knock because the live strength of field is a little bit tough. There's Chris Ventura, $6,200. He's 29th. That's a good score on a pricer golfer that cheap. Okay, again, 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. Rick Run Good YouTube channel. We'll do the live chat. Mahalo.